We'll go right back to the phone lines. We'll talk next to Amanda in New York, New York, listening on the web. Hi, Amanda.
Yes.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
Hi, Hank. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Yes, I had a question about, I was reading the Bible, and it's in Matthew 7, verse 21 to 23.
Uh-huh.
And it's talking about when Jesus says, like, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, shall enter the kingdom of heaven, but who does the will of my Father in heaven. And I don't really understand those scriptures.
Yeah, what you have to always consider is context. And what Jesus is saying in context is that we have to watch out for false prophets. They come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ferocious wolves. So what Christ is saying is that they look good, sound good, but in the end are very deadly. And Jesus says that ultimately it's not their appearance, but the fruit of their ministries or lives that cause you to recognize them. And then he gives an analogy. He says, do people pick grapes from thorn bushes, or do they pick figs from thistles? It's a rhetorical question, obviously. Likewise, every good tree bears good fruit, and a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit, you will recognize them. That's the prologue to the words that you quoted earlier, Amanda. And so the Lord goes on to say, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. The false prophets could say, Lord, Lord, but they were not going to enter the kingdom of heaven because they loved the Lord, not because of the Lord himself, but rather because of what the Lord could give them. Prosperity. Judas would have been a classic case in point. He hung around Jesus, not because he loved Jesus, but because he loved what Jesus could do for him. And so perhaps Jesus really has in mind, as he's speaking here, Judas, who he later on says is a devil, because he is one who looks like a shepherd, but in fact is a wolf in sheep's clothing. And he really doesn't do the will of his Father in heaven. He does his own will under the guise of doing the will of his Father in heaven. So this is, in essence, Christ calling out counterfeit Christs and counterfeit Christianity as opposed to the real thing where people follow Jesus because they genuinely love him, not because they know everything about him, know perfectly his precepts and his principles, but they say, I want to follow Jesus and be a participant in the kingdom. And of course, Jesus never turns such a one as that away.